Hello, hello, good afternoon. It's Monica from Life is Art, and this is the Thursday 3:30 p.m. demo at the Cruise the Nile online crop. Just getting everything sorted out here. And I'm so happy that you're joining me today. If you're joining me live, just say hello or howdy so I know you're here. And if you're watching later on replay, you can say replay or just leave a comment. I see my mom is watching. Hey, Mom. And we had a lovely time this afternoon during chat and craft. If you're new to the crop, feel free to jump into chat and craft anytime when that link is active. And I just realized I forgot to delete the link. Chat and craft is done for now, but we'll be back on at 7 o'clock. It's very casual. Just come on. Everybody's just working on their stuff and chit chatting. So today we're going to be doing one of the projects from the Let's Go Anywhere card making workshop kit. Now, there's a scrapbooking workshop kit for this collection as well. However, it has sold out. But the card making workshop kit was still available when I checked earlier today. So when you order a card making workshop kit, you get the stamp and die set that comes with the kit. You get some of the bulk pattern paper. You get a selection of cardstock that you need to create the 4 different designs. You get the card bases and envelopes. You get some embellishments, lots of stuff, and full color instructions, which are awesome. So this kit makes these 4 different designs of cards, and you make 4 of each of them. So you get a total of 16 cards when you're done. And then there are a few leftover bits and pieces as well. So you can make a few more things. Pardon me. And but then you also have the stamp and dies, and you can work away with other papers you have and use those for that as well. So let's take a look here. These are the full color instructions that come with the kit. It shows you pictures of the cards you're creating, materials you're going to need, that the kit, but also, different inks or things. And then it gives you a cutting guide with lots of information about how to cut it for all the different pieces of paper. And then it gives you instructions for each of the cards as well. So we're going to be working on project 3. So let's jump over to project 3. And nice to see you watching. Good afternoon, Joanne. Oh, Shannon's here too. Howdy. And so we're going to make this card because I thought it had a nice, interesting technique in there. So this is demo and technique all at the same time. So we've got our instructions here, and we're going to start working our way through the project. So here's our stamp set. It has some lovely sentiments. Let's explore together. You are my true north. So glad we found each other. It's time we celebrate you. Then there's some other things. There's also the dies that come with it that create either a clock or a compass. They can be used for either. And so let's get started. First things first, we need to look at our instructions here. So it has card base and piece 3D. So this is our card base. It comes pre-scored. We're going to fold it along that score line with the bump side. So a pre-scored card base will have a bump side and a dip side. You want to always fold with that bump side to the inside. It creases nicer that way. It on the vertical, so we're going to have it open to the right. Then we also need piece 3D, and that is this light side of shortbread. Light side, dark side, dark side of shortbread. And the instructions here say we're going to ink with Toffee. So I've got my Toffee ink here, and I've got one of my little sponge wedges. The sponges come like this, and you just take your big scissors and chop it in half, and then chop it into thirds, and you end up with 6 little 6 little wedges. And they're great for adding some ink to the edges of things, and that's exactly what we're going to do here. So we're going to take our piece of shortbread and just ink all the way around, and you can add as much or as little of the ink as you want. This is kind of creating an old world kind of look on this. It's supposed to look a little vintage. It's also a great masculine card. This whole card set actually lends itself quite well to masculine cards. So we've inked that, and we're going to ink the card base too. So we're just going to go around and add some toffee all the way around our card base. I'm making every effort to not have to cough 100 times during this video. So we shall see how that goes. I have a cough drop in my mouth, so hopefully that doesn't sound weird while I'm talking. So all the way around, just like that, easy peasy. Make sure we still have our opening on the right. And we're going to scooch that shut. So that was our toffee ink with our little wedge. And then our next instruction, oh, this is fun. This is the technique that I thought was really cool, and it actually comes up on 2 of the cards in here. We're going to quickly grab the all-purpose mat, which I'm pretty sure we've sold out of already. We've also sold out of the Versamat. That's kind of what's going to be happening now as time goes on. And the instructions are to take piece 3A, which is the piece of toffee paper, and we're going to leather the paper, not lather. We're going to leather the paper. And so for this technique, it says to lightly mist this piece with water and crumple it up into a small ball and then open it up and flatten it back out and set it aside to dry. Now, I don't have a mister. My little mister has broken. So I have a little bowl with just some water in the bottom. And I've got my little sponge here, and I'm just going to get some water in my sponge and rub it all over the front of my cardstock and then the back of my cardstock. Just like that. Get it all nice and wet. And we can set this aside, mop up some of that extra water. And then we're just going to crumple. So you want to make some nice crumply bits. So we're just going to crumple it all up in a ball. And I actually do this twice because I think it creates a nicer look. You get more crunkly wrinkles. I'm very pixelated on your end and cutting out. Oh, that's not good. So there, we've crumpled it up and flattened it out. And now we're going to crumple it again to get even more crinkly lines. I know this looks vicious, but it works really well. And this can actually be done with die cut flowers. You can do the same technique, spray it with water, and then crumple them up, and creates quite an interesting look to the flowers. So then we're going to make it flat, and we can even go around and, you know, like kind of crease over a little corner there, a little corner there, that kind of thing. If you wanted, you could tear it, but I'm going to just leave it like that. And then you set it aside to dry. Now, I found a good spot for me to dry this because you want to have some airflow. If I just set it here, it's going to take a long time because it's sitting on a solid surface. So I actually have the racks that hold the markers, and I just lay this across the top row of markers. And you can't see what I'm doing, but that's what I'm doing. And that lets the air kind of flow around it. One moment. Drink it on the job again. All right, we're going to roll up our all-purpose mat. One second. Here we go. Okay, so we've got the wet, messy stuff out of the way. And by the magic of Facebook, I have one that I did earlier. So this is all dry. And you can see all the lovely texture that has been created by doing that wet technique. And it really has a very cool leather-like look to it. My apologies. I've been under the weather. I was hoping that wouldn't happen while we were crafting. Okay, so now our next step is to take our piece of pine, 3E, and we're going to ink it with pine on the dark side. I'm going to set this aside. We're creating a little pile of completed pieces over here. And I've got a scrap piece of paper here. We're going to bring in our pine ink and one of the little tiny stamps in this collection that's a little sort of star or the center of a compass, that sort of motif. And so we're going to use that to do some stamping, some random stamping. So let's ink that up in the pine. And we're going to stamp off the edge just like that. And I'm going to keep all my, it's not very random. I'm kind of going in rows, but I'm going to keep it all facing the same direction. All the way along. There we go. That's with the pine. And then our instruction is to tear between 1/4 to 1/2 inch off of the left edge. So if we look at the picture on here, we've got torn paper, but we've got the white core showing. So to create that effect, we want to tear this left edge towards ourselves. So we're going to come in about 1/4 inch and we're going to tear. And the part that we're throwing away, we're tearing towards ourselves. And that exposes that white core so that we see it on the side where we've done all of our random stamping. Random-ish stamping. So there we go. We can scooch that scrap paper out of the way. And then our last step on this section, let me move that out, is to take our center of our little clock. So for this one, we're making a clock as opposed to a compass. And we're going to take our clock, and I like to look at the little marks that that the die cuts. Let me, did I show you the dies before? I think I did. So we're using the piece that was cut with this. So there are little perforations, I guess, and they're varying lengths. So I like to put one of the long ones at the top and the bottom so that in my mind's eye, it looks like it's upright. And what we're going to do is we're going to bring in our sentiment, which is "It's time we celebrate you," and our intense black ink. And we're going to go ahead and stamp that in the center. I'm going to scoot this a little closer to me. Line that up. There we go. It's time we celebrate you. I like that sentiment. And then we're going to bring in our Toffee ink again. And this time we're going to stamp the little hands on the clock. So we've got two stamps here. We've got a long one, pardon, and a short one. And there's a little bit of a point on one end. So you want to make sure the point is going to be pointing towards the edge of your clock, just like the hands on a clock would. And we're just stamping right over our sentiment. I know that seems odd, but it'll work. So there's our long hand, our minute hand. And then we've got our short hand, which is our hour hand. If you were making this as a birthday card for somebody and you knew what time of day exactly to celebrate their birthday, you could always adjust your clock to be precise. All right. Now we move on to the assembly instructions. These were our preparation instructions. Now we're on to the assembly. So I'm going to just sit this here. So hopefully you can still kind of see that as we work. We're going to start out with our card base, making sure it still opens to the right. We're going to bring in that fun paper that we created that leather look on. I'm going to grab my adhesive. Now you could attach this with foam tape, but we're going to use foam tape for some other bits and pieces. So I'm going to just use this. Could also use liquid glue. We're going to have to press it down good. We're going to just center that right on the card, hopefully, and stick it down. And because it's got so much texture, you really have to take a minute to make sure all that glue is getting adhered. How cool is that? Doesn't that look just like leather or some canvas, you know, really old canvas? I think it's super cool. All right, and then our next piece that we're going to add in just seems to have disappeared. Let me just grab that. Where did I put the kit? I had everything sitting out here, and I think I put away one of the pieces. That's super interesting that I did that. And where? Oh, they're under here. Trying to figure out where I put them. When I cut out my my kits, I actually put the pieces in different envelopes so that they don't get all mixed up. And now, do you think I know which envelope they're in? Where to go? There's the card base. Oh, there it is. It's stuck in the card bases. Of course it is. There, that's the piece I want. I put it all away so neatly and then forgot immediately where I put it. Excellent. Isn't that the way it is? You always say, I'm going to put that someplace safe. And that someplace safe is like a vortex into the unknown in which things disappear, never to return. So we're using that same fun pattern that we used on the outside of our mini album this morning. And we can go ahead and add some adhesive to this. But I think we're adding foam tape to it. So let's flip it over. And this will actually help it stick to this, excuse me, heavily patterned paper and not fall off, which is important. So we're going to add our foam tape. When you're attaching something to something that's heavily patterned, foam tape really does help because it usually has really good adhesiveness, and it lifts the flat paper up off of the rumpled paper so that the flat paper still looks flat and it doesn't look all wonky from being in all the nooks and crannies of the rumpled paper, if that makes sense. The foam is like the smoothing force, the leveling force. All right. There we go. Okay. Now this is attached 1 1/4 inch from the right edge. So let's line it up with one of our squares here. And we're going to come 1 1/4 inches in and then line it up centered-ish, top to bottom. Why does that look odd? No, I was given the wrong instruction. That's for the next piece. This piece is 1/2 inch from the, wow, 1/2 inch. That makes so much more sense. All right, line it up again. I knew there was something squirrely about that. So there we go. We're right up along the edge of that toffee piece. I have made one of these before. All right, then we're going to bring in that piece of shortbread that we inked around the edges. And this one is attached. Oh, I'm doing the same thing I did this morning. I'm skipping a step. We've got a piece of scarlet cardstock. And this needs to be dovetailed. So to dovetail, you're going to snip in the center just 1/4 of an inch or so, and then you're going to come from the corner to the top of that snip, and then move over to the other corner and come to the top of that snip. And then let's go around to the other side, snip in the center, and then corner to the top of the snip, corner to the top of the snip. When you're doing dovetailing, it's so easy to think that the deeper you cut that first snip, the better it will be. And I find that it's the opposite. The shallower you cut that first snip, the better it looks. So you can kind of find your own groove on that one, but I find if you get too deep, then it just starts looking odd. And if you do it shallow and it's not enough, you can do a little more. All right, so this one, let's line it up again, is 1 3/4 from the bottom. And this time I did get the right measurement. 1 3/4 up, centered from side to side. Now we can bring in that shortbread piece. Add some adhesive. Earlier when I was working on this card, I forgot about the scarlet and I had to pull up a bunch of stuff and try again. Now this piece is the one that's 1 1/4 from the right edge. So we're going to come 1 1/4. Now that looks better, doesn't it? And we're going to stick that down. I like how we're layering, but we keep kind of moving over. So we started in the center, we shifted all the way to the right, and now we're layering, and things are going to be shifting back to the left. A very cool technique. And then we're going to add this last piece here, which is the one that we random stamped on and tore the edge. So let's add some adhesive to that. This is a good kind of design for when you need to do lots of layering. Sometimes challenges want you to do layering. We're going to add that on top. And then we have our little clock here. And we want to add the clock face with some foam tape. So down here it says, assemble and attach the pocket watch accent as shown. Tip, attach the prepared face with 3D foam tape. See, as long as you read the instructions, it's like cooking. As long as you read the instructions, you should be okay. And add some foam to that. Tip when you're cutting foam, if you go to put your scissors on and you wrap it like this around the blade, so the backing paper is touching your blade, and then quickly snip, you don't get stuck. Sometimes when you're trying to trim foam tape, you almost get stuck because the adhesive side is wrapping around your blade. My mom taught me that trick. Moms are so smart, aren't they, Mom? Hey, Joanne. It does look like a treasure map, doesn't it? Ah, Diane, you made it in. Excellent. All right, and we want to center that on our little base that's been die cut. And then we can attach it to our card. Just like that. I realized after I did that I was off the edge of the camera. So helpful. And then we can attach this here, a little bit overlapping onto the red. Try and make it straight-ish. I don't think anything on this is straight at this point, but that's okay. And then the embellishment that comes with this kit is some wood grain die cuts. And we're going to get 3 of these hearts, or not hearts, stars, completely wrong shape. We're going to take a big one and 2 little ones. Now you can even ink these if you want them to look a little darker. I'm going to leave them just the way they are. And we're also going to attach a couple of them with foam tape. So let me just get a little snippet of foam tape there. I'm going to get a tiny piece for one of the little ones. Should be using my tweezers, but they're in my bag across the room and I keep forgetting to grab it. So I'm not sure when the video got stuck. I'm hoping that it went all the way through, but I'm going to end it now and take a look and see how it went. And if need be, I'll go back and review anything that didn't get caught. All right. Toodaloo. Bye.